I am Chaplain Rob Menace, and this is an orientation for staff for cultural awareness. Louis Brier Home and Hospital in the Weinberg Residence is located on the traditional, unceded, and ancestral territories of the Coast Salish peoples, Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Since this video is about cultural awareness, it is extremely important that we recognize that we are part of a multicultural society. So we're going to talk about three aspects of cultural awareness. First of all, what awareness is. What do we have to be aware of? We'll go into the understanding of what it means to be aware of others and ourselves, and how that might change our behavior, particularly in the care of our residents. We're going to talk about generalizations and stereotypes and how we apply that to the people we meet. What this indicates regarding respect for individuals. And then, what about awareness of ourselves? What are our thoughts and beliefs? How do our thoughts impact our language, what we say to people and what we hear? And what does it take to really see the other person, understand them? As an example, and something that pervades our lives, how does this impact anti-Semitism? What can we do about it? How can we change our behavior so that stereotypes don't cloud our care? And how can we ultimately change our thoughts and beliefs? So let's talk about generalizations and stereotypes, broad categorizations of people. An example might be, what do you think of Americans? Are all Americans that way? Are they loud or inappropriate? Now, if you apply that belief, whatever it is that you have about Americans, for example, if you applied that to a particular person, would you be respecting that person? Or would you be assuming things that might not be true? A generalization or a stereotype disrespects the individual. Think about how you would like to be known. Sometimes we're taught generalizations about groups of people, or through our limited experience, we make assumptions. The assumptions are often false. They disrespect the individual, and they separate groups of people. Now look at the pictures here. We see a person that might be wearing a t-shirt, and what do we think about that person? What comes into mind based on some stereotype of what someone who wears that looks like? We can go to each of these pictures and say, oh yes, I believe this person acts this way, and this person believes this. But we really don't know those people. We're acting on stereotypes and generalizations that will probably be false, and you are ignoring who that person really is. Now, we may perceive some of the generalizations we have as positive. We may think, oh, a person who looks like this really takes care of themselves, or some such thing. But usually when you say that to the person, it is received as a negative comment. Because even the positive might disrespect who they are. What generalizations do you make about groups of people? What generalizations do you make based on their religion or their race or their education? You find out that someone is well educated. Do you assume that they have a certain kind of job or can communicate well? Or if they have wealth, do you assume that they have a certain kind of lifestyle? And if they look a certain way, what assumptions do you make about them? Our first task is to be aware. And awareness starts with yourself. Do you know who you are and what your values are? Are you able to recognize that what you believe may be different from what others believe? Many people have the assumption that their beliefs are universal. Unfortunately, that is not true. And if you're unaware of your own beliefs, that will create a bias and you will be projecting yourself on someone else. Of course, our next task is to be aware of others. So this is an interesting picture where we have many different people and they look different. And they're holding up signs that might indicate the kind of generalizations and stereotypes that you may project on them. For example, one says, I'm a teenager, so I must be a troublemaker. Or I'm a student, so I must be in debt. These are stereotypes that are often incorrect. You're using them to make your life easier, so you don't have to know the specifics of that person. Why do we use stereotypes? Well, it's easy and we're lazy. We're uncomfortable not knowing. When we meet someone, we want to form a picture of how they might react to us. But the way to respect them is to recognize the differences between people. Although everyone has a culture and beliefs and a community from which they come, everyone is different. Your language reflects your thoughts. So what you say to people will reflect the generalizations and stereotypes that you use. It's not enough just to keep quiet, because the thoughts are still there and will affect your actions. If you rely on stereotypes, it will reflect your bias. You need to challenge those stereotypes and find out about the individual. This begs the question, how might others treat you? What kind of stereotypes might they have about your culture or your image? So let's get real here. This is all, we're speaking in generalities. We work in a Jewish home. What beliefs do you have about Jews? Have you made comments or heard jokes about Jews? Oh, they're cheap. They're rich. They control the economy. Oh, Jews are smart. Now, Jews are bad in sports. They're very religious. They hate Arabs. All of these statements are hurtful and false. Jews, like any group of people, are extremely diverse, and any individual will not match the stereotypes that you might have heard. The individual must be respected. And those statements, by the way, are anti-Semitic. They put Jews into a category and cast a negative view on them. Let's be real here. The stereotypes that you have will alter how you treat residents, the administration, staff, your friends. But stereotypes are born from ignorance. They are not born from knowing how people act. It's about not knowing about the individual. So what stereotypes do others have about you? If you are Filipino, Chinese, Japanese, Russian, Catholic, atheist, Czech, Hindu, Muslim, are you aware of the kind of stereotypes that people might have about you that might be hurtful? If you're short, tall, skinny, fat, old, young, disabled, male, female, people use stereotypes and they disrespect you. They need to find out who you are. You need to find out who they are. Stereotypes are born from ignorance. The result is we need to change our behavior and our thoughts. How to do this? Learn about a person before you classify them. Consider what you say and how you say it. Respect each person as an individual, not just as a member of a group. Staff and our residents come from many cultures. Learn about each person to better understand how to communicate with them. And finally, check it out with someone else, a friend, or the chaplain, me. Ask, is this an appropriate way to deal with this person? Not all people of that type, if you will, but this person. What do they need? Like this image over here, you've got two people looking at the same number. Is one of them wrong? Or do they simply have different perspectives? Just like the diversity we see in these flowers, each person has unique capabilities, unique understandings, unique experiences. Let's respect each person. Know yourself. Know what influences your thoughts and your beliefs. And learn about others. And celebrate the differences. Understand each other. That will not only make care easier, it'll make for a better world.